The thing about Netflix is with every other streaming network, you have to have a show you want to watch to go there. With Netflix, you just go because it's Netflix,
Yep.
and then they make the shows popular just because they have this massive audience. And they essentially did that for Formula One. And obviously, Formula One was already a big popular sport, but they made it, much really expand the audience and increase the value of Formula One. I think they're going to do the exact same thing for WWE. Like, what was the likelihood I was going to watch a WWE event, yesterday? Very small. Likelihood now, very large.
I have to say,
Because
Mark,
it's just sitting there.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily want to watch WWE, but like if they did a documentary of it, 100%, I'd be in on that. Are you worried about content spend? Like, is all of that just going to cost too much for what Netflix is promising the street?
Well, I mean, they that used to be a huge problem with Netflix, meaning, on Wall Street, people are like, this company will never make money. And then they focused on profitability and they proved them wrong. And so I think they have that pretty much under control. And then obviously the ad business is just pure profit. Like every dollar revenue they bring in there, net of like, paying their sales reps commission is just more profit for Netflix. So I think they have that formula very tight, and it's reflected in how the stock market has responded. The value of the company right now.
So, Mark, let's just step back a little bit because one of the growth drivers for Netflix, in addition to wrestling, I guess, is advertising. Now, this is a business that Netflix has said repeatedly and pointedly that they're not going to get into the advertising business. Well, now they're into the advertising business. And this is your bailiwick. This is where you guys operate at Mountain.
Yeah.
How do you think they're going to do here? And then what's that mean for the industry?
I think they'll do well in the long term, but I think in the short term, they're still struggling a bit there. And the reason why is they're coming into the television advertising market with a very traditional kind of revenue model, like upfronts and let's sell only to the 1,000 largest advertisers. Meanwhile, you have companies that are treating advertising like a digital advertising market. And that's my own company, Mountain. That's Amazon in particular. And you see Amazon's ad business for TV, they had the confidence that next week they're just flipping their entire customer base over to an ad-supported model. That's because they have tremendous confidence on the ability to monetize it. And the reason for that is they have all of these digital ad buyers on their search business on the Amazon.com website. So I think Netflix, to really grow their ad business, they have to stop operating in the past on the business, using an old kind of traditional media business model. They have to enter the future. That's what Amazon's doing. That's what Mountain has led the way on. And if they do that, they're going to be very successful. As a matter of fact, I think if they do that, the company can double in size. I think Netflix is almost a startup when you look at, in terms of like they just IPO'd, when you look at the potential on the ad business if they do it right.
So walk me through the amount of, okay, so if I'm going to advertise on CBS and I'm going to advertise on Netflix, how much am I paying for each? Like, how is that calculus going to change? And also, would I put ads on both?
Yeah, so as a traditional, we'll call it brand media buyer, you'll just go where the audience that you're trying to reach is, and in traditional media, it's age and it's very traditionally targeted, and you're happy to do both. The problem that you're kind of alluding to is the brand advertising market is not growing. It grows 0.5% a year. So if you enter that segment of the market, you are in a market share war from day one. And you're seeing that in Netflix growth rate on advertising. It's growing relatively slow. But if you go over the digital market where Google and Meta and Amazon Mountain operate, it's like millions of e-commerce companies who are eager to be on Netflix, who are eager to be on every TV network, and there's a lot more growth there. So Amazon's doing it right. I think my general thing is Netflix will have a good year on advertising. Amazon will have a great year, and I think eventually Netflix will see where the real growth is and pivot over to there.
So
That's how it works.
Mark, I mean, if anybody who's looked at broadcast or cable television over the last several years in terms of the advertising, it's pretty much all healthcare. It's basically letting you know of all the conditions you're probably suffering from or could be suffering from, and here's the the little acronym we're going to put to it so you can remember the name. You can go ask your doctor for this or that drug or, procedure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's I don't see General Motors. I don't see Coca-Cola anymore. I don't, all that kind of stuff. What is the future of advertising for broadcast and cable television? Is there one?
That's what that's what we've been talking about. Now compare that to looking at ads on Meta, on Instagram. Yep. It's all e-commerce. It's all products you may be interested in, and disruptive companies and things like that. So the TV industry is in a transition. NBC made an interesting announcement at CES. CES is at the start of the year in Vegas. It's a big part of the show is advertising, is all these big advertising companies, and they announced that 60% of the ads that run on NBC, linear, cable, and streaming, they expect to be targeted against people's interests and not just their age. And that's a big, big difference, because now that starts to enable e-commerce companies and other companies to treat television like they're treating Instagram. And so that's a transition from traditional media to digital media for television, and that is happening. And going back to Netflix kind of sees easy money in the old way, but I think the long term, they have to be part of that. And the answer to your question is, all of those TV networks are going to adapt. They're going to go where all the emerging companies are with the emerging ad dollars.
So anecdotally, we cut the cord when my daughter was really little, right? But we're watching Hulu, and we have ads on Hulu, and she literally is like, "What is this? Like, why am I watching?" And she's like, "What's with all the car commercials?" She's like, "Who's buying all these cars? Like, what do I care about this?" Like, she literally blew her little brain about what actually was happening. I thought that was quite funny, but I think it's a deeper point to what you're saying on how to reach younger people who have no concept of traditional television and what advertising actually is.
Yeah, I mean, it's the death of another way to state it is we're going to watch the death of broadcasting and broadcast ads and see the growth of matched ads, so to say, ads that are really tuned to your household and to your daughter's interests and your interests and things like that. And all the advertisers want the latter, and they're slowly abandoning the former. They're moving away from the broadcasting and moving more in the digitally targeted television advertising.